We're going to go through how to make your own house cocktail recipe using the Perfect Manhattan as a template. Not every great bar has its own house cocktail, but the memorable ones do. And so we're going to figure out a way to do that at your own home using that Perfect Manhattan template. The Perfect Manhattan, of course, is a 2 ounces of bourbon or rye, half an ounce of sweet vermouth, half an ounce of dry vermouth. And by swapping out something else for that sweet vermouth, you really can make your own drink and your own something unique to yourself. All of this was inspired for me because I was at a bar in upstate New York and they had their own house cocktail recipe, the Gorman. And what they did was they swapped in amaretto for the sweet vermouth. And so it retained the Manhattan, bold, spicy, balanced flavors, but added in the roundness and the sweetness of that amaretto. And you really can do that with any number of other liqueurs. You can use chartreuse, you can use Kahlua, you can use chocolate liqueur, any number of these things to make something unique and special for your own bar at your own house. So stay tuned as we go through the build, stay tuned for the backstory, and stay tuned here on Tuesday Night Cocktail Club.
This exclusive cocktail club meets weekly to mix drinks, trade tips, and explore the history in every glass. No paywall, no dues, but new content every Tuesday.
So, this is really a celebration of the local drink and the local cocktail and the house cocktail. New Orleans has the Sazerac, invented at the Sazerac Room in the Roosevelt Hotel. Wisconsin has the brandy old fashioned, which is sweeter and has more fruit in it than a regular old fashioned. There's the mint julep, around Derby season in Kentucky. There's so many of these local things, and they really make the drinking cocktails and drinking drinks so much more enjoyable. But the OG of local cocktails is the Manhattan. It's really just a local drink. There's no real definitive story about which bar or restaurant that came up with it first. But the Manhattan was invented because the older cocktail, the old-fashioned, they swapped out the sugar for vermouth, which was starting to be imported into New York and New Orleans and elsewhere in the country. And the various bartenders around the country started, experimenting with these new ingredients. But the Perfect Manhattan with the dry and the sweet, really gives us an opportunity to pull out that sweet part and add in a sweet liqueur like the amaretto one that I had in upstate New York. It's called the Gorman. It's named after the family that owns this restaurant in Saratoga, New York. And so you can have your own individual house cocktail. It's fun. It makes the whole experience of drinking drinks, that much better. Your friends come over and they say, give me the house cocktail. It's fun. It's a great way to enhance everybody's enjoyment, and it becomes your signature, your fingerprint. And, you can really do it using this Perfect Manhattan template. So let me take you through the build. I've got 2 ounces of rye. I use Old Overholt, which is a good workhorse rye. I've got half an ounce of the sweet vermouth, which is the Martini and Rossi, which is a perfect serviceable mixing vermouth. And I've got half an ounce of amaretto. The amaretto I use is, this is the amaretto I use. It's a good mid-shelf amaretto. And so there you have it. I'm going to mix in my ice, and then I'm going to take my mixing and we'll stir this. Give it a good 20-second stir. Okay, there's that. I'm going to use 1 dash of black walnut bitters. Really like these. They add richness to the cocktail. And then I'm going to use 1 dash of Angostura, which gives it its, spiciness and herbiness. And I did not do that in the right order, but I'm going to stir that in there. So we got a nice stir there. Into the cocktail glass comes the drink. give it a garnish of an orange peel. Nice big caracar orange. Express those oils. Give it a nice. And there is the drink. That's really good. It's got the spiciness of a Manhattan. It's got the roundness from the amaretto. The bitters really add to its complexity. And let me give you the pro tip here, which is the amaretto, like I said, gives it an almond flavor note. It makes it rounder. It does take some of the edge off of the Manhattan and the spiciness of the rye, but it really doesn't make it sweet. You can also use chartreuse or Bénédictine if you want a herbally kind of flavor to it. Give it a bit of a, especially with the either of those, it gives it sort of a New Orleans kind of character. You could also use Luxardo or orange curacao. Both of those give it more of a fruity character to it. And, that's another option. You can use Amaro, you could use sweet cherry, you could use a tawny, you could use a tawny port. I mean, there's so many endless ways of making this your own. If you love tawny port, try it with tawny port. And so one thing I will say is it does not take as much of that liqueur or the sweetener as you think it would. I find when you drink it, the version with the amaretto, you don't necessarily notice the amaretto on the first few sips, but over time it builds up on your palate and you really begin to taste that in a much more pronounced way. And so that's the drink this week. Leave a note in the comments about what you think would go best in this template, and if you don't think it's amaretto, whatever tell us what you like to use. And that wraps it up this week for Tuesday Night Cocktail Club. I think, I have not made an old-fashioned type of drink. Maybe that's what I'll do next week. Let's see what the club wants, and I'm going to take it from there. But remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and tune in on Tuesdays for new content. And thank you for joining. This wraps up Tuesday Night Cocktail Club.